All right, Buckaroos, we are in. It is the People's Podcast, Week 9, with a little Week 8 recap. A couple of things. It's your boy Gall by himself today. I did not reach out to my other co-host because I've been a little sickly, so my apologies. I'm trying to squeeze this in before the Thursday night football game. We'll be back at it next week with some more special guests. Additionally, no jingle this week because Curtis was out on Santa Cruz Island over the past weekend and didn't have time to dedicate to the craft. So one weekend off, or week off, I should say, from the jingle. But I'm sure he'll also be back at it next week. So, without further ado, let's dive in, shall we? My weekend update, as it was covered in the last pod, Chelsea and I went up to Bend to visit Becca and Bill. Amazing weekend. Friday was spent playing some disc golf and then going out. We got pretty lit after the podcast, actually. Took an awesome bike ride from Bill's house down to bar and eating area in Bend. It was like, I don't know, maybe 15-minute bike ride. Really fun on the way there, extremely fun on the way back, because on the way back we were all a little bit cross-faded and it was dark, so it was an adventure. Luckily nobody ate shit, to my surprise, honestly, because we were going fast. But Friday was sweet. Saturday went to brunch after walking through Sweet Park by the river in Bend. Really picturesque. A little bit cold, but otherwise can't complain. Saturday night, we actually stayed in and played a bunch of card games, and bang, I was the sheriff. I took the L after basically being a 1-on-2 for, I don't even know, 10 to 15 turns, where I kept getting jail card to put one of the outlaws in, or I get a timely beer, or a timely barrel. So even though I was putting off the inevitable, it was fun to be the sheriff, because I feel like I really don't play that position that much. Sunday, Bill and I watched a lot of football games. My matchup was effed from the start, so I honestly stopped paying attention to Yahoo after the first round of games. But Bill and O'Malley's thing was going back and forth all day, so it was fun to share in his excitement of his matchup. All the while, Bill was making a ton of great vegan apps. We had vegan nuggets, we had pot stickers, we had chips and salsa, bruschetta later on. So all in all, great job hosting by both Bill and Becca. The football was fun just to watch with a buddy. Been a few weekends since I've been able to do that. I think it was Stu's wedding actually last time I was able to watch with some bros, so that was cool. And then let's see, Sunday night, more card games, more bang, more drinking. Oh, actually, that was also when Bill and I constructed our wizard staffs, 10 cans tall. That was fun. We additionally were drinking some side libations in addition to the cans. Becca was making some awesome old fashions and other high-end cocktails. Cool to have some homemade ones of those variety. Also, Bill took 3 or 4 shots throughout the day, whether it was his disc golf bet atonement or him cursing Jameis Winston, which, side note, Bill actually, to assist in his matchup, because he had the Buccaneers defense, took a shot asking for some Jameis interceptions, and he went a little overboard because he ended Jameis' season. So we've been talking a lot about black magic today in the group me. Bill definitely put some bad juju towards Jameis Winston on Sunday. All in all, great weekend in Bend. I've actually been recovering a little bit. We flew back on Monday night. Monday day, Bill and I went and played disc golf again in the rain, and so I've actually been battling a cough and a runny nose. Today, actually, I'm feeling a little bit more like myself. Been really low energy the past few days, but definitely would recommend it. They have a guest room up there, so if you haven't visited yet, you guys should get up there. It's awesome. Moving on, we're in the atonement segment now. I feel like I have a lot to atone for, but 2 things specifically jump out of mind. First atonement, Elijah Mitchell. We've been giving Weaver a really hard time about him spending that $69 FAAB dollars on Mitchell, but now is paying off, and especially with Derrick Henry going down. Without Elijah Mitchell, Weaver had been a really tough spot. Weaver's close to the top of the league. He's at the top of the league. And now looking like Mitchell's the guy in SF. So as long as he can stay healthy, it looks like a really strong pickup. So I will atone for that. And also in the Pick'em discussion that we just had in the GroupMe, Pebbles was the originator of the Pick'em contest. I incorrectly remembered what we had agreed upon, and I will echo what O'Malley said, that we talked about it like a week or so ago, and the consensus at that time was that we were doing correct picks, but Pebbles kept the receipts, or at least he scrolled back forever and found the receipts, and it is percentage based. Whoever's the highest percentage of picks with 75% or more of games picked for. So atoning for that as well. So to Weaver and to Pebbles, this shot of Crown is for you. Yep, that's a shot. Okay. Moving on. Next section. We got fun storylines to follow throughout the season. The note that I have on here, which we discussed last podcast and was discussed in the GroupMe, was what makes a Hall of Fame drinking champion. We don't need to dive into it too much, but I am interested in having Stu join the pod on a later date to discuss this. Because in the discussion we've had within the GroupMe, more and more people, Weaver comes to mind as one, but there may have been another, who are in agreement with Stu's line of thinking. And so I think it would be fun to have Stu on the pod to discuss it. What makes a good podcast, or I guess discussion, debate in general, is having all viewpoints represented, right? And if we're not doing that, it's just an echo chamber. And so, Stu, let's find a week. Let's get you on this podcast to discuss what makes a true Hall of Fame drinking champion. We definitely need to have this decided before next draft weekend, when Bill has the belt that he purchased, when it will be passed on to the next winner, if not Bill. Next, we got listener questions. I also did some research for this one too, but we'll do that after the questions. First question, and these both came in today in the GroupMe, from O'Malley. Thanks, O'Malley. Does Colin get more likes than atonements? I would say yes. I do get more likes than atonements. Atoning, I'm only doing like one atonement shot per week, maybe two if I'm egregious near football Sunday, whereas the likes just pour in like rain every single day on all of my comments within the GroupMe, especially because we have some very generous like givers, which is currently being discussed in our group. Shout out Evan and Brad. And Bacon, actually. It's fun, and you always can tell, and everyone has experienced this. Someone gets back to the GroupMe after elongated absence, whether they're actually paying attention to their job or they just haven't had their phone on them, and you will get like 4 or 5 likes in a row. So that's always a good feeling. And just one Bacon coming back after being away from his phone vastly outweighs the atonement shots. So the answer to that question, yes, O'Malley. Scott then said, most and least generous likers. Most, very easy, Evan. Evan gives all the likes. I think it would be a better question as to what percentage of messages does Evan not like. We've all been in GroupMe, obviously, but we've all been in team GroupMes. And some of us have been in organizer GroupMes. And there is a method to being in those groups. For instance, if I'm organizing a tournament and hosting, I got to keep all the scores in line. I'll use the like feature as my way of keeping track as to how long in the discussion I've seen, right? So that way I know I have all the scores above that I have liked, and any message below that I have not liked, I have yet to record. People also do that in team GroupMes, whether it's, I know Evan has talked about the Mischief GroupMe in the past. Now he had a teammate who would do the same strategy, like every single message, and to keep track as to where you had last left off in the GroupMe. So I think that's basically what Evan's strategy is. Plus he likes to promote discussion. discussion, debate, argument, rabbling, fill in the blank. So Evan definitely the most generous. Least generous, yeah, I think it's pretty close between Max and Scott. I mean, I guess it depends which way we're splitting the hairs, whether it's number of likes or what's the other fucking, we just talked about this in the group meet. It's like percentage of messages seen versus number of likes. So if you see more messages, you have more opportunity to like those messages. So I guess it's time on the group me versus how many likes you do. I think it is close between Scott and Max, but I can't remember the last time Max liked one of my messages. So that actually, circling back to the previous question, O'Malley, an amendment would be, does Colin get more Max or Scott likes than atonements? And that would be an interesting question or debate to have. But back to Scott's, Evan, definitely the most generous, followed by like Brad and, yeah, I think Bacon, and then least generous, Max and Scott. And if you're removing those two guys, then it gets a little hairy, because I think there's a good chunk of I'm probably more on the generous side, but I think you have like the Weaver, Adam, Bill group who is kind of hit or miss. So that's a good debate. Who's in that like middle ground? Who maybe it's like the rankings, right? Group me like rankings. If anyone wants to do a deep dive into that, I encourage it. Next section. So we have the FAAB. Lots of things happened this week in the FAAB. Lots of movement. I mean, there are a number of people who are injured or in legal trouble. Really sad to hear about what's happening with Ruggs and that whole situation. But this has been one of the most active Tuesday nights in recent memory. It was funny that O'Malley sent that screenshot out about all the FAAB wagers that he was making. I actually looked into that picture, and I like scrolled, or zoomed in, enhanced to see what his top bid is and it did look like the very top one was a 30. Ended up being like a 33 or something, but I was concerned he was going to outbid me, 35, for Adrian Peterson. But there was another that outbid me. But we'll get to that in a second. So going through these FAAB wagers, holy shit, I didn't even notice that McNichols went more than Peterson did. Wow, that is insane. Okay, Brian Edwards, 13 to Big Burrow and Seal. Adam, nice name change. BT Dubs. One more FAAB dollar than Fields of Broken Dreams from Peblito. Side note, you need a new name, Pebbles, because Justin Fields is no longer on your team. Remains to be seen how the Raider offense is going to function after the removal of Ruggs. You would think that there would be an increase for all of those pass-catching people, which would be Renfro and Edwards, but also there's Waller, of course. His target share could drastically increase. Kenny and Drake, who is a pass-catching back. Also, you have someone like Zay Jones. Maybe Brian Edwards' role is already cemented in that offense, and he doesn't see an uptick. But with 13% of our allotted budget spent by Adam, obviously he hopes that Edwards does have an uptick. He was already kind of on the upswing as it was, but seems to be averaging about 5 targets a game. So we'll see in the coming weeks if that does increase. Next one, the McNichols war. Stu won that one, $56. Team Jiggy Jiggy was the next highest with 52. Pretty interesting to compare the Peterson and the McNichols sweepstakes. Both of them, the winning bid was over half of our allotted FAAB budget. Honestly, I think it's kind of a dart throw as to how this offense is going to function without Derrick Henry. So I have Nick Chubb on my team, and both he and Kareem Hunt were out a few weeks ago. Hunt is still out, but in their stead, when they both went down, I immediately went to the wire and I picked up Demetrius Felton. Is that his name? Picked up Felton. And I did not pick up Ernest Johnson, who was available. And then Adam picked up Johnson, and Johnson outperformed Felton. And I bring this comparison up because it's the role at which the running back plays in the offense, okay? So Chubb is more of like the grinder, pound up the line, and Hunt is more of the pass catcher, elusive type, quote unquote. And I know that's kind of putting them into boxes, which they both can sway between each box. But in general, there seemed to be a type of running back, right? You got this slam against the wall running back, and you have the more elusive patch catching running back. Johnson filled in for Chubb, and Felton filled in for Hunt in the Browns offense. And Johnson, when they played the Broncos, had a much better game, to my chagrin, because I picked up Felton before Johnson was taken. Then Adam picked up Johnson and got the win that week, although O'Malley had a horrendous showing from his team, so it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. But I bring that comparison to what the Titans are going through right now. McNichols seems like the Felton or Hunt guy, right? He is the pass-catching back. It's almost impossible, if impossible, to replace someone like Derrick Henry. Their offense is going to have to change, right? That's probably going to be a more the work's going to be spread out amongst all healthy people, right? I say healthy because I have fucking Julio Jones and he can't get on the field, because if he got on the field, he would benefit probably from this Derrick Henry absence. But A.J. Brown is going to have an increase. McNichols is going to have an increase. Frickser, the tight end, probably going to have an increase. That third receiver, whose his name is escaping me, going to have an increase. But I feel like Peterson is going to have the biggest bump out of anyone. Obviously, remains to be seen how in shape he is, although all the pundits and media that I've heard within the last few days since this news dropped about Derrick Henry has said how insane a shape Peterson always is in. So when I compare these two guys, the hole that is left by Derrick Henry, I think, is mostly going to be assumed by Adrian Peterson. And because of that, I didn't go in for Jerry McNichols. Now, if we're playing devil's advocate, he obviously has been there the entire season. He knows the offense. He has been the guy who is spelling Derrick Henry already. So it's not obscene to spend $56 FAAB on Stu. And actually, no one ever makes any obscene wager because everyone's bets are perfect, and as they should be. So kudos to everyone who won their bids. But I'm very interested to see the workload and how it's dispersed. But in my own thinking and where I put my money, although fruitlessly, was for Peterson and not for McNichols. But anyway, McNichols goes to Stu. Bill gets Taysom Hill for $3, which could be a coup if Taysom Hill could stay healthy, which was a $1 victory over O'Malley's $2 FAAB offer. Devontae Parker, another fun one. I'm sure Evan is probably unhappy with himself that he cut Parker only to bid on him and lose him next. $19 is a lot. I put in $5 for Parker, thinking I might be able to sneak one over people, but I did not. Did the opposite, where I was outbid by a lot. Bacon won Parker with the $2 over Pebble's bid. And now I get to face Parker this week in playing Bacon. And Evan cries because he dropped the guy, bid to pick him up, and lost him again. Team Jiggy Jiggy gets Dan Arnold and actually outbid himself. That's actually really funny to see this thing. He won with an $8 bid. The next and only other bid was himself at $3. So he outbid himself by $5. Dan Arnold goes to Brad. Carlos Hyde goes to O'Malley for $6, which was $6 more than the next person, who was Evan. I like the move by O'Malley. He's just, wrapping up that backfield. Robinson has been an impact player for him all year, and in the case that Robinson doesn't play, he has the immediate backup. Now they're playing Buffalo this week, so Hard to bet on the production, but if you're going to get a lead back in an offense, you probably should. Jacksonville's been pretty bad this year, but in an entire game, they're probably going to have a red zone or goal line possession. You want that running back. So I don't mind it. Let's see. Max won the Miami defense. They're playing Houston over Bill. They had the same bet, but the fine text on Bills was it was an invalid claim due to previous transaction. So Max just won him outright, although I think he would have had him anyway because he would have had the priority being in last place currently. Ayuk goes to Evan after getting 7 targets, 4 receptions, 45 yards, and a 2-point conversion to the tune of 8.5. Now, the next offer for that was a $1 offer from Pebs, so Evan outbid Pebbles by $10. Not sure how I feel about Ayuk. He's been really bad this year. I imagine Evan was watching the Niners game, and that influenced his bid. I'm leaning towards this more of a flash in the pan than what's going to be the expected outcome for Ayuk, especially seeing as Niners scored like 31 points, which I think is high above their average score per game, and the rise of Debo and Mitchell for that matter. So this one, a little too rich for my blood, but we'll see how it pans out. Crowder goes to O'Malley for 3. O'Malley going back to the Crowder well that he had last year. I was considering all the Jets receivers, Crowder, Elijah Moore. Definitely with Corey Davis out, there's increased opportunity, but I mean, how often do you think fucking Mike White is going to throw for 400 yards? Probably never again. And they're playing the Colts tonight, so banking on a receiver in a Thursday night game with a second-string quarterback is bold. Let's see, does O'Malley have Crowder in his lineup right now? Crowder's on the bench, so very interesting to pick up a receiver and not play him when the lead receiver will be back next week. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I guess for $3, who cares? And then the Adrian Peterson sweepstakes. Damn. So I got some thoughts on this one. First thought, I lost by $3, which is a bummer. I actually increased my bet from 48 to 49 to ensure that I could eclipse all of Adam's remaining budget. Adam ended up not bidding close to his remaining budget, so it didn't really matter. I would have won this bid and gotten what I thought was the, again, Dearness Johnson role in this offense. But I was outbid by Bill. And it's really funny that Bill won this bid because I was spending time with Bill in Bend, as I've stated, this past weekend. This news drops when we are driving back from disc golf on Monday. We're talking back and forth, obviously, about it and domino effect is going to have on the league and if we were intending to make a play or not for Adrian Peterson or McNichols. At the time, I thought McNichols was still on Evans' roster, but it turns out he was not. And Bill said that he wanted no part of it. Bill felt that he was in good shape, especially with McCaffrey coming back, and that because there was a lot of ambiguity surrounding the situation and just not knowing how Adrian Peterson was going to be, that Bill is not going to touch it. And so it is interesting to me that Bill then is the one that ended up winning the bid. Because maybe I would have increased my bid had I known there would have been someone else to compete with. So yeah, Bill, that's for you. I now selfishly hope that he flops. But that's the FAAB section. Everybody had beautiful bids. Great job. Last note I had here, which is I guess not really FAAB related, but it is trade related. The Michael Thomas news. Michael Thomas now is not going to play for the whole season, and he has rightfully been dropped today. Pebbles postulated in the Group B yesterday if it was better to have one or two lemons in that trade between Max himself, where Devontae Smith, that's his name, right? D. Smith, was swapped for Allen Robinson. And then Kenyon Drake and Michael Thomas were also involved. Drake and Thomas have now been dropped. However, Drake has now resurfaced onto Evans' team and actually has found himself a pretty relevant portion of the Raiders' offense. I mean, the last two games before their bye, he put up 20.3 and 15.4 points. Now, that was with a new coaching staff and with Josh Jacobs not playing. So we'll see how Drake plays this weekend. I think he's going to have a bigger role. It seems like Gruden, for whatever reason, had it out for him, and now he's being more involved. But with Michael Thomas being dropped, we finally have an answer to that curiosity. Like I said, the Groovy, he's not going to play. Pebbles, I think it's better to have two lemons in real life than in fantasy because you can make more lemonade or lemon twist or fill in the blank whatever you do with fucking lemons. In fantasy, it's better to have one lemon as opposed to two because you don't want to be holding two lemons on your roster. You only want to have one lemon on your roster. Or zero lemons. But how many of us can say we have zero lemons on our roster? Next section, we're at the League Picks Leaderboard. So this is updated with our Week 8 stats. My original note here was with some controversy as we were debating in the group meet back and forth as to what constitutes a winner. But Pebbles brought the receipts and now shows that we have been reporting on this incorrectly for the entire season. So, in my effort to now correctly show who is winning, we are actually going by percentage, but not by correct picks. So Adam would still be in first place. He has a 583% correct at 28 points. Second place would be Pebs, 533. 16 points, so even there's a 12-point difference there. Pebbles is in second place by percentage. I think O'Malley said that Bacon and Pebs would fall under the threshold currently. We got some time left in this season, so I don't think we really have to get to the 75% threshold currently. But anyway, by percentage, we got Adam in first, we got Pebs in second. Bacon is in third at 500. He's 12 and 12. Fourth, we got... O'Malley would be in third. Sorry, O'Malley, you're 521, 25 picks. Correct. Bacon would be in third with 500. We got some podcast math going on, guys, so I apologize. After that, we got myself. I'm sub 500 at 479 with 23. Stu is 429, 18 and 24, 18 points there. Weaver is 425 at 17 and 23. So going through it again by percentage, we got Adam in first, Pebbles in second, O'Malley in third, Bacon in fourth, Colin in fifth, Stu in sixth, Weaver in seventh. How funny. Yahoo just gave me an alert saying both your QB and other slots are empty, and I got this little inquisitive face emoji. Oh, that's so funny. This is actually interesting to see. So this is the first time it's ever happened to me, but this is great for all of our debates we've had about having empty or inactive slots. I guess this wouldn't be really an inactive slot, but Yahoo is now shaming me for having empty slots in my lineup. More on that later, as I am pretty fucked this week. But anyway, that's the League Picks Leaderboard. Adam in first, and Pebbles in second by percentage. Moving on, hate to love to see it. First thing you hate to love to see, I'm sure a lot of you love to see this. I hate to see this. But the whole Aaron Rodgers fiasco. Adam and I made a trade last week. Burrow was sent away from me. I was debating whether to send to Rodgers or Burrow, and Adam actually gave me the option of picking who to send to him for Melvin Gordon. And then we had some other throw-in pieces, Boston Scott, which just blew up, of course. Welcome, Adam. I thought he was on your bench. And then I took Ernest Johnson as side fucking note. Handicap to Chubb, although he's actually the one who scored the touchdown. Fuck me. In any case, I sent Burrow away, even though I really like Burrow, and I felt stoked to pick him up for nothing off the waiver wire because I went with the veteran Rodgers. Been there, done that. The Packers were 6-1 at the time, and I just believed that he'd get it done. And I was kind of worried about Burrow's injury from last year. He's been looking great, and I hope and believe that he'll finish the season. But in the back of my mind, I was like, if he goes down and he's your only quarterback, you're effed. So I shipped him off to Adam, even though he had the better matchup last week. Well, turns out Rodgers is unvaccinated, and now I can't play him. So now I currently have no quarterback. So I went from having 2 playable quarterbacks and Trey Lance, who I also shipped away. So now I got 0 playable quarterbacks. What the hell, Rodgers? What the hell? So I hate to see it. I'm sure many of you love to see it, but I would feel remiss for not mentioning it on this podcast because goddamn it. Next, hate to love to see Bacon getting stat corrected into a loss. Hot damn. Stu was even giving him a shout out in the group me yesterday about being on the other end of a close match because Bacon has been losing a lot of those. And, I also was glad for Bacon, although it was further cementing my plummet down our league standings, whatever. But then I'm preparing for the podcast today, and I see that Bacon actually lost that game. So poor Bacon, he gets a stat correction loss. And is now still in 11th place in the league. So, you hate to love to see that one. So, sorry, Bacon, this sucks. Now, getting into the Week 8 review, Week 9 preview. Reviewing my personal picks between myself and Brad, I chose myself. Even though a tough Thursday night, I still doubled down on the podcast we recorded. And I thought, there was potential that, things could go in my favor. They did not. Brad won. Brad's team didn't have a particularly crazy showing. Put up 119.2, but it's good enough to beat my score, which was the second worst in the league past week. So Brad gets the W over me. He jumps to 5th at 4-4 because he got huge points for to this point. Next matchup, we had Pebs versus Scott. I chose Scott. Pebbles took that one. Super close. That one was decided by fewer than 2 points. Scott got a 0 out of the Detroit receiver Raymond. 0 points, 1 target. Detroit got absolutely stomped by the Eagles. You hate to see that Scott had 2 options on his bench that could have, certainly would have eclipsed that 0 and would have given him the W. So, tough one for Scott, but Pebbles takes it. Next, we had Bacon against Evan. We just talked about this. I took Bacon in that one. Bacon just got stat corrected into an L. That's rough. After that, we had O'Malley versus Bill. I chose O'Malley. It was fun spending time with Bill this past weekend and basically witnessing Bill be shook all day and sweat. But after Sunday, Bill was like, Mahomes just can't put up 30. Mahomes just can't put up 30 because Bill is ahead by like 29 points or something like that. Mahomes puts up 14. Mahomes hasn't been the dominant Mahomes in the last month, he's only eclipsed 20 points once, which is not why you draft Mahomes. You draft Mahomes because you think he's going to be giving you like 25 easy every week. Even though that's the case on the season, Mahomes is the 6th best quarterback. So O'Malley, I know times have been tough, but he is still number 6 on the board, and actually only about a point lower than Kyler Murray and only about 2 points lower than Jalen Hurts. So he's at 6 by a very slim margin. He's ahead of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, those guys. Anyway, Bill gets the W because Mahomes puts up a stinker. After that, we have Stu versus Adam. I chose Adam in that one. I was hoping that shipping Burrow to Adam with that matchup would get Adam over the hump against the reigning 2-time league champion and question mark asterisk 2-time Hall of Fame champion. But Stu's team just put on a clinic yet again. Even though he got 2 points out of his flex spot, which he was actually hoping to play Bolden, which actually is kind of funny to see that. Brandon Bolden only got 2.6 points, so 0.6 more than Rondale Moore did. But it didn't matter because Woods, Pittman, and Henderson combined for about, 65 points. Wentz did enough. Actually, holy shit, that is insane. He actually met his projection exactly. Wentz was projected to get 18.34 points, and he scored 18.34 points. That is crazy. But anyway, Burrow eclipsed him with 20.26. Godwin had a great game for Adam, 24 points. But everybody else on that roster did not even score double digits, and Adam takes the L, scoring 87.32 points and having the not only biggest blowout of the week by over 39 points, but scoring the lowest amount of points in the league that week by about half a point over me. Stu takes that one over Adam. Last one, we got Max, hooked on Stephonics versus Doug Judy Pontiac Bandit, who is now Doug Judy IR Bandit, trademark, whatever the R fucking circle thing is, Copyright LLC. I chose the IR Bandit. Oh, no, this is actually the one I chose correctly. I chose Max, and he won. This is the only one that I chose correctly. In that matchup, Max wins by about 30 points. Unfortunately, Allen, Hill, and Diggs did not combine to score 90, but they did enough to get him the W. Weaver also gets a big 0 out of Sanders, which is what Bill actually postulated would happen on our podcast last week. More of a Black Magic Bill at work there. Weaver had a great kicker showing with Folk against the LAC, but all in all still lost by almost 30. So Max gets the W over Weaver. And now to my picks for this week. It's 4:40. Thursday Night Football starts in about 45 minutes. So without further ado, first matchup we got, let's do my own, Lamb of Rod versus He Rides the Bench 500 miles. In this one, I'm taking Bacon. Gaskin is actually in the lineup, so in a little misleading name there, Bako. But anyway, my team is in complete disarray, so I don't think we need to really spend much time on this. Currently don't have a quarterback. Currently don't have a completely healthy tight end, as Noah Fant is on the COVID list with fucking Aaron Rodgers, and his backup is questionable. Sterling Shepard, who I traded for last week to be my Julio Jones insurance, hurt himself again, so no, he's not going to play. Jones is questionable. He's got 2 practicing, but you can't trust him as far as you can throw him. Hopkins and Lamb got Q's, so yeah, I'm basically in a tailspin to the bottom of the league right now, whereas Bacon's team is looking fully healthy. Of the people that he usually starts, he's only missing Fournette, and Edwards-Helaire, if you really count him, but he's been pretty ho-hum. Well, I guess he's been hit or miss. Whatever. I'm taking Bacon in this one. Lesai. Next matchup, we got Fields of Broken Dreams, your new team name Pebbles, versus Amari Ka. Fuck yeah. Right now, the Bush is about 50-50, but I'm going with Evan. Because Prescott's coming back. The Prescott-Cooper stack could deliver. I'm not really sold on Ayuk, I talked about earlier. I think Kelsey has a bounce-back game against Green Bay. Christian Kirk, I think, is going to have a great week for Evan because Hopkins is banged up. AJ Green is on the COVID list currently, and Murray's got to throw to somebody in that game against SF. The Buffalo defense against Jacksonville is a great play for Ev. And on Pebble's side, I think the Baltimore defense could give Cousins some issues, especially as he struggled against Dallas last week. Devonta Smith has been a lemon, as Pebbles self-diagnosed. And yeah, I think Evan has an overall better team. So I'm taking Evan in this one, although currently it's like a coin flip if you ask Yahoo. Next, we got Menage a Trois versus Doug Judy IR Bandit with all those special characters, LLC. In this one, I'm taking O'Malley and Menage. Currently, they both have a full lineup in, and O'Malley's Bush is much higher somehow. Weaver's plug-and playing Jordan Howard after his 2-touchdown performance. Weaver now is struggling with Derrick Henry news. That is a bummer for sure. But Weaver also has a bipocalypse thing going on here. Both McLaurin and Metcalf are on their buys. So he's forced to play the likes of Chenault and Howard, as we just talked about. Judge Judy is still being integrated back in that Denver offense. But I was watching Denver on Sunday, as I now have both Gordon and Fant, and that offense does not look good. I know that's not really groundbreaking news, but I just don't have much faith in them. That with the fact that I think Mahomes has to have a bounce-back game. O'Malley's got Eckler with the Clips, and we talked about the Jacksonville backfield. So I think the Bush is a little misleading right now, but I just went with the better team in this one. I think that's O'Malley. So O'Malley over Weaver. Next matchup, we got Stu versus Bill. Right now, Stu is missing a flex, although Devontae Adams is currently on his bench, but his little blurb says that he was activated from the COVID list, so I'm sure he will be activated into Stu's lineup pretty soon. And with that, the Bush points will actually go into Stu's favor. But all in all, we got Taysom Hill for Bill coming off the concussion protocol and missing like the last month of games. Even though he's playing Atlanta, I'm not super stoked on someone who's just being activated and being thrown into the starting role after being gone for like a month. On Stu's side, I mean, his receivers have been going off all year. Same with Henderdog. Not really sure what's going to happen with McNichols, but because I expect the Rams to be ahead in that matchup against the Titans, McNichols is going to be catching some passes out of the backfield. So, because of that, because Bill is going to be without Brady, I'm going to pick Stu in their matchup. After that, we got Hooked on Stephonics versus the Landry Down Under. This one is pretty close, and it may be the matchup of the week here just because of the closeness of the matchup. Also, we got a 2-6 team going against a 3-5 team. So it's an important game for both of these teams trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. I'm taking Max in this one. I think it's hard to bet against the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack against Jacksonville. Also, Michael Carter has been showing up in recent weeks for Max, and with the expected absence of Calvin Ridley, I think Pitts is going to have a bounce-back game, better than he had last weekend, and obviously the continued double-digit performances out of Devontae Booker. On Scott's side, I still think his receiving core leaves something to be desired. Obviously, Aaron Jones and JTT, good running back stack there. Scott gets James Conner in the lineup finally now that Swift is on a bye. Even though Aaron Jones is probably going to get some increased workload, which would be crazy because he's been pretty good this year, with Rodgers being out and having to make a few more plays, I'm still taking Max in this one. Last matchup, we got Team Jiggy versus Big, Burrow, and Seal. Taking Jiggy in this one. I feel like I've been picking against him all season. Brad, that is, including last week. But even though I don't like the Gore plug and play in his flex, especially when you got Marvin Jones Jr. there on the bench in a game where he's going to be fed the ball. Marvin Jones Jr.'s always fed the ball because Jacksonville's always down. I don't really have much faith in Hardman. Adams got going on. Tony is banged up, and though he's probably going to play, it's still a little scary for me. Boston Scott had a great week last week, but I feel like the Eagles are going to have a little bit more of a tough time against the Chargers than they did against Detroit. And seeing as all three of those running backs are getting involved, it's hard to rely on all three of them to perform. We just talked about how Weaver has Jordan Howard in his lineup. Between Howard, Gainwell, and Scott, one or two of those guys are going to be the odd man out, so it's hard to bet on one of them. And then Javonte Williams on Denver, they just will not commit to him. Melvin Gordon got all the scores last week, so I don't know. I feel like Adam has a few more dart throws in his lineup than Brad does, and so because of that, I'm taking Adam. Quickly reviewing those picks again, I'm taking Bacon over myself. I'm taking Evan over Pebs, taking O'Malley over Weave, Stu over Bill, Max over Scott, and Brad over Adam. Good luck to everybody. Thanks for bearing with me with this solo pod, and look forward to some activity within the group me. All right, guys, take it easy. We're back. This is really funny. So I did this whole segment that I forgot to talk about, and it's research based on number of moves. I was supposed to talk about this during the FAAB section, but I was curious about what is the correlation between number of moves a person makes and their finish, right? So does making more moves correspond to a higher finish in the standings? And so going through it, I went for the 8+ years we have in the modern era, so 2013 onward. And in that time, there actually only has been 1 year where the person who made the most moves won the title, and that was 2014. Bacon made 29 moves, which coincidentally was the same number of moves that the Sacco winner, Pebbles, made 29 moves, and Bacon won. But going through it, 2013, Adam won, and he made 16 moves. O'Malley, last place, made 19 moves, and Max made 30 moves. Actually, as I'm looking at this, I'm not really going to go through every single year. And instead, I think I'm just going to screenshot this and make this the front of the YouTube thread, the little clip. Thumbnail, I think they called. LOL, it leaves my mind. But in any case, The average number of moves the champion has made from years 2013 to 2020 has been 28. Average amount of moves. Now, the moves generally have increased over the years. The most moves a champion has made was Stu, and last year, 37. Comparing that to the Sacco, average moves a Sacco makes is 26.25, so only a little bit less than 2 moves fewer than the champion. Most moves a Sacco has ever made was also last year, poor unfortunate soul, Adam. The highest amount of moves all time has been 50, and that was last year, and myself. My finish was 7th. The average moves of the high, so the highest average, is 37, which, if we're comparing to the average of the champion, is 9 more, and the Sacco, which is about 12 more, again on average. The highest finish, no, let me back up. The average finish for the person who makes the highest amount of moves is a little over 5. I guess a little under 5, so 5.3. Currently this year, our current first place individual, Evan, has made 19 moves, which if he keeps that up, if we expand that out over the rest of the season, including the playoffs, that would put him around 40 moves, which would be the most out of any champion. Again, this is all in air quotes because we're in the middle of the season and we've seen time and again that the first place person doesn't always win and the last place person doesn't always lose or win the Sacco. Max also has made 19 moves to this point, so that would put him a little over 40 as well. Highest currently would be Pebbles at 25 moves. His place is currently 7th, and that would put him on pace for 53 moves. So, in summation, the amount of moves does not equate to a higher finish. Champion has, on average, had more moves than the Sacco, but not even close to the number of moves that the highest person does. And that person's average finish is around 5th. So there's my added bonus segment. I'll put this in the YouTube thumbnail. But thanks for bearing with me again. All right, good luck, guys.